Okay, you completed 8-2 last week, and now we're in 8-2 part 2. So we're continuing to distribute, but today we're talking about equations. So here's an example of what we're going to do. We're going to distribute each piece of the equation, and once it's simplified, you can't really move anything to the other side until you clean it up. So the 4n and the 5n have to go together, and the 19 and the 18 need to go together. Now that you've simplified, you can move n's to one side and numbers to the other and solve. Okay, that is what you're going to have in Delta Math, something like that. So let's look at problems like that. So number 1, it says solve each equation. Well, we have to simplify before we solve. Let me put on another light real quick. Okay, that's better. So in order to simplify, we have to distribute. Okay, we can't do much with 2a and 6, and we can't do anything with 6a and 18. So now we need to move letters to the left, numbers to the right. So I'm going to take this -6 and add it to get 8a minus 6 equals 18. If this isn't enough room for you, feel free to use this or just a separate sheet of paper. So now we have 8a, I'm going to rewrite it, minus 6 equals 18. I moved all the letters to the left. So now I'm going to move the numbers to the right. So we have 8a, these turn into a 0. I'm not going to write it. Equals 24. When I divide both sides by 8, I get 3. So 3 is my answer, and the beauty of math is you can check your work. If you put 3 back in, you'll get 0. 0 times 2 is 0. If I put 3 in here, I'll get -6 plus 6, which is 0. 0 equals 0. That's true. So we can check our math. Okay? Try number 2 on your own. Pause the video, and let's go over it. That's it. All right, so we simplified before we solved. We distributed the 3 to both terms. We realized that these numbers need to combine, and now we can start moving. So we really need to simplify before we solve, okay? I'm going to skip 3 and 4 right now, and we're going to go on to 5 and 6 because they're easier. So let's practice these again. Why don't you try pausing and try doing 5? Play the video when you're done. So we simplify before we solve. So I distribute here and I distribute here. We're going to combine like terms, and 8p and a -12 is -4. We have a p and a number and a p and a number. We need to remove the 16, so we make it negative, making it -20. We have to remove the 4 by subtracting it, making it +20, and we get -1. Okay? All right, last one we're going to try. We're going to try number 15. Pause the video. All right, we have to simplify before we start moving things. If we look on the left, we see a 3x and a 2x, which makes a 5x. We have a 6 and a 2, which makes an 8. I've simplified the left-hand side as much as I can. The right-hand side has an x and a number. There's nothing else I can do. So now we can start moving to both sides. We're going to add 5x to both sides, and we'll get 10x plus 8 equals 15. We're going to subtract 8 from both sides, and we're going to get 7. Now we divide both sides by 10, and x is 7/10. That's fine. It might not be a pretty number, but let's go back and check. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 1 is 2. Equals 5 times x is negative 5x, positive 15. Positive 5, positive 8. Yep. Add 5x, subtract. That's your answer. Okay, so those are the ones you're going to see in Delta Math. Here is one you won't see in Delta Math, but you might see on your review guide at the end of this chapter. Okay, let's try number 9. We have x squareds now. Well, we're really not going to solve for x squared, but something happens every time we do a problem in Algebra 1 when we have x squareds. X squared and 6x cannot go together. X squared and 5x and 11 can't go together. So now we can move the x's. Well, look, the x squareds are going to cancel, and you're left with negative 6x equals 5x minus 11. And that's something you're used to solving. So that's what's going to happen every time you work with the x squareds in this chapter. They're going to conveniently cancel out. When you get into Algebra 2, they won't. So there's no Delta Math for these kinds, but there's Delta Math for the other. I just want you to be aware these exist. It'll be on your review. Okay. Let's try another one. Let's try this one. Same thing. Notice the x squares will cancel out conveniently. Because we're in Algebra 1, we're not going to give you hard ones like you would in Algebra 2. We divide both sides by 12 and we get 1. Okay, so it's as hard as it's going to get. So you don't need to send these notes, just keep them and make sure to do your Delta Math and email me if you have any questions. I'm the main teacher for this week, but you can always reach out to Mr. Marshall or myself no matter what week it is, and either one of us can meet with you at 2 o'clock.